Today we're going to talk about program design, and in program design I want to talk about trying to make our sessions more effective. It probably wouldn't surprise you to learn that most climbers' training doesn't produce the results that they really want it to, and many of us end up at the end of a hard training season feeling like we might have wasted our time or we did something wrong. And one of the number one things that happens there is that when we go to the gym, many of us think we need to go hard every single time. And athletes that go to the gym and they go hard every single time are actually just going medium because they're too tired to go harder than that. And so they'll go in and they'll train a little bit less effectively than they could just because they're not willing to vary things. When we look at varying loads, I like to look at three main kinds of sessions. The easiest session is what we call a restorative session. A restorative session is designed to improve your recovery. And so that's low intensity, medium duration training. And that might look like very easy rock climbing. It might look like going for a hike. It might be going for a cross-country ski, but something where it's quite relaxing, and when you're done with it, you aren't feeling like you'll need to recover from that session. This is a sliding scale, and I do think that there are athletes that can go for a run or go for a swim and have a recovery stimulus. Likewise, there are climbers that can go out and climb at the crag and be more recovered the next day. That's going to be really dependent on your level of fitness and your overall capacity for training. A really great starting point is a 30 to 45 minute hike or a walk, and most of us as general outdoor athletes are going to be capable of doing that. The next level up is what we would call a retention session. And a retention session is what we maybe would call medium intensity, and this is the session that most people skip out on. A retention session is simply a session where you're not trying to progress load or duration or intensity of training. And the retention sessions are actually super effective. They help us get better at staying strong or maintaining ability. And an example might be where I go in and I do 20 boulder problems from V5 to V7. Then I go in the weight room and I do 3 sets of 5 on 6 or 7 specific exercises. And then when I come back into the gym a week later or 10 days later, I'll do the exact same intensity, the exact same duration, and not try to push those numbers up. So many of us for so many years have just been like banging against trying to hit those numbers, trying to push your weight training numbers up and your bouldering numbers and the total duration. And we can only go so far before we hit some kind of brick wall as athletes. And so when we go into what we would call a reinforcement session, or maybe you could call it a maintenance session, we don't want to be pushing any numbers at all. And these are super effective sessions. The highest level of regular training session is what we would call a developmental session. It's where you're trying to break records. You're trying to go better on your weights. You're trying to go harder on your boulders. You're trying to go longer on your endurance circuits. And so no matter what your training focus is, you should look at your week, and there should be no more than 2 developmental sessions in a week. The rest of the sessions in that week period should be what we would call those restorative sessions, or the ones that are the reinforcement sessions. And so you might have 6 or 7 sessions in a week, but a lot of them are going to be very, very submaximal and not feeling like they're really pushing you in training. The final, fourth layer to this is what we would call, a super intensity load. One of these sessions where you go to the death. And those are really cool, really effective. They're psychologically powerful, but you shouldn't do more than one of those a month. One where you just leave everything in the gym or at the crag. Those are, like I said, wonderful for your mindset and your psyche. They're great to show your body that you're capable of great things, but they can't be a regular part of your training. And so when we start to schedule out that whole week, we want to have many restorative sessions. When you're an older climber, it might be 4 or 5 or 6 sessions a week of just restorative, keeping the blood flowing, keeping the capacity up kind of training. We also want a lot of these middle of the road, or what we would call reinforcement sessions. And those might be 2 or 3 of them. And you might only have 1 or 2 sessions where you're really trying to develop and improve. If you can try this, if you can trust it, if you can get your mindset around the idea that this varying load and intensity might actually be effective, you're going to start to see some really good improvement in your training. If you just always go in every Thursday, boulder with the same people, at the same intensity, at the same bouldering wall, you're probably going to get the same results that you got last time.